My name is Manuel Diaz, D Manuel D, I'm known as. I've been rapping for several years, and God, I have all the glory in my life for everything I've been through, everything I'm going through. And I'm excited about this interview. I'm excited about this testimony that I'm about to give you. And I'm ready to tell my story so people can hear. And if it reaches lost souls and to all the people that are struggling right now, my life will reach them. Through all my life, my dad was always pushing me around, trying to show, he'd come home drunk. We'd have school night, take us out of bed, by the hair, tell us, we got to wash dishes, we got to do something for him. So me and my dad had turmoil since I can remember, since I was young. And God allowed me, a month before he died, to apologize to him for being a bad son. I'll never forget it because I remember telling my little brother, I think God is telling me, and I didn't even know God, but I was like, something's telling me something bad's gonna happen to him. I remember that day just getting off of school, coming home, and I was drinking. I had a friend down the road. Yeah, remember taking a shot of liquor after school. It was kind of like something you see on TV, where they had all the cameras, the lights. There was rescue teams at this lake, Fabus Park in Brownwood, Texas. But the cops said, are you the Diaz boy? Are you the Diaz boy? And I said, yeah, what did I do wrong? He's like, your dad's boat capsized, we can't find him. That's the report. So my dad and his best friend, and his best friend's son went on a fishing trip where there was alcohol involved, but my dad did have zero alcohol level when he died. His autopsy came back and he had no alcohol in his system. There was life jackets on the water. How did it just happen? He was Manuel could swim. My dad's Manuel Senior. So they were just like he could swim. And I was 16 years old, my brother was 15, and I remember identifying my dad's dead body. When we went there, they still hadn't found my dad or his friend. And I remember the friend's son being drunk, completely drunk, wasted. And the funeral homes were going to my little brother saying, hey, choose our funeral home. My mom was mad. She's like, why would you go to my son and ask him? We haven't even found him yet. We don't even know that he's dead. We had a hope to maybe swim across the bank or something. We had this hope. We wanted to hope that he was still alive. But he was dead. We realized that later. They found his friend's body under the boat. They found his body several hours later that night. They found the Billings first, and they found the Diaz body later. And they put him in a hearse, in a body bag. And they said, we need the Diaz family to come to one side and the Billings family to the other side to identify the bodies, to make sure that this is our father. And I was 16 years old. My brother was 15. And I remember just seeing my dad. It didn't even look like he was dead. It looked like he was asleep, and it looked like he was crying. It was weird, my mom would always remind, she's like, you remember that? It looked like he had a tear coming down his side, as if he was crying. And that's where really my story starts, because it was after that I went to the Marines, because my dad always said he wanted to be a Marine, but he never went. So I went to the Marine Corps, and I hated my dad, but I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, I'm gonna do everything better than my father did. He died from drowning. I'm not gonna die from drowning. I'm gonna master the water. I'm gonna master my emotions. Now to this day, I'm seeing the way God works that I didn't even know God then. My Theo would tell me when after the funeral, everything's for a reason. God had this happen. I was like, how the hell did this happen for a reason? I was so angry because I was like, there's no way this could happen. I was just getting close to my dad for the first time in my entire life, 16 years that I've seen my dad. He was always drunk. And my cousins tell me my dad was a good man. But I was like, I didn't get to see that part of him. It's like, I told my cousin, you knew my dad better than I knew my dad. How sad is that? I was like, that you knew my dad at a good level, but all I seen was the drunkenness. All I seen was him high. So that really put a turmoil with my relationship with my dad, because I wouldn't be the man I am today if my dad was still alive. And I wouldn't have overcome the battles that I've overcome if I wasn't strong enough to beat them. And because of all these things that's happened in my life, it's given me the strength, and God has given me the strength and the ability to learn through them. Hard ways most of the time, but those hard ways are necessary for stubborn, hard-headed people like myself. I got out of it in 2010, and that same year I was overdosing from drugs. And the way I came to God is through my mother. And when I got out, I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't want nothing to do with Jesus. I thought all this Jesus stuff was weird. I thought everything to do with God this was corny. This was weird. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I was on methamphetamines. I was a drunk every day. I was smoking weed every day. I had prescription pills, Percocets, hydrocodone, Xanaxes, Oxycontin. And anybody who knows, those were harder to get off of than meth was for me. I was overdosing months right after I got out. And that's when I first called on God, and I asked God, hey, if you're really real, save my life. I'd been up for days on meth, and I took uppers and downers, and I could feel my heart pounding out of my chest. It was pounding so hard I could feel it. I could see it pounding out of my chest, and I lost my breath, and I lost all consciousness. It's like when you look at the sun. This is what I remember. When you look at the sun for a little bit, your eyes, you kind of like, man, you can't really see. That's how it was, and I couldn't breathe, and I knew that I was dying. I knew that I was about to die. I was like, I survived all this to get here and die as a junkie. That was really hard. In those moments, all I could think about was my family, and people talk about suicide. People talk about, they want to commit suicide. And the reason why I'm so strongly against that is because when it actually came down to committing suicide and dying, that was the first time in my life that I was unselfish and thinking about someone other than myself. For all these time, I was thinking about myself, but when I was dying, all I could think about was my mother and my brother. And he had just had 2 baby daughters. And I was like, what's gonna happen to my mom and my brother after I'm dead? After they find me, and I was trying to throw the pills up I took hours earlier. And it's ridiculous because it's not gonna help because they're already dissolved in my system. I'm not throwing them back up, but I was thinking in my mind that would help. And as I was trying to throw up, I was losing my breath where I could not breathe. And that's when I called on God, and it terrified me, my first encounter with God. I was terrified because he answered my prayer. Well, I'd like to say, Mom, I love you very much more than words can say. You'll always be my queen, and the most amazing part of my life, even though Dad died, how much you've held things together. And words couldn't possibly explain what you mean to me and how much you mean to me. Holding it down, like even to this day, you're such an amazing grandmother and you're such an amazing mom. You've always seen the best in me. And if something happened to me or something happened to you, I would want to make sure you knew I loved you very much and always will. And I'm glad that because I have friends who's lost their mothers and they didn't get to see them sober, that you get to see me sober and got to see Michael sober. So at least whenever everything happens, whenever God calls you home, you have seen us sober, and God answered your prayers from years ago. He saved your children. Just like you stood on that promise that God told you years ago that he would save your children, and he did. And I'm not gonna stop, and I'm going harder for Jesus than ever. I'm a Marine for Jesus now. And I'd like to thank my brother who, even though being younger than me, you helped get me out of this nonsense that I was in last year when I backslid. And you helped me get it together, and our reason, you and your kids, are an inspiration to me. You have an amazing and beautiful family that have always inspired me. And my tia Sammy, I love y'all very much, more than words can say. And God bless you very much. And I'm glad this is just the beginning for me. And I hope that God, He's gonna have much more that He's gonna show us all in this and through all of this. And God, in Jesus' name, God bless you very much. I love you very much. Yeah. I do want to say, if there's anybody that I have left out that I have not personally made amends with, whether because either they blocked me, which I don't blame some people if they blocked me, especially when I was making a fool. I've hit on people's wives, trying to have sex with them, so I can't blame a lot of people. But if that was you or your wife, please forgive me. I want to say that here. I'm man enough to hold myself accountable in front of God and before man. And to anyone who I might have wronged in any way, and been a bad example to anybody that's ever looked up to me, and especially when I, got back on drugs, and I was a bad example, anybody who looked up to me and then lost that inspiration from me because of what I did, please forgive me for everything. I've learned to forgive for anyone who's done me wrong, because in order to be forgiven, I need to forgive. And I hope that y'all can forgive me, and anyone that I've wronged can forgive me, because I'm going hard for Jesus. And anybody in the church that I might have done wrong or been a bad example to, I really do hope, for Jesus' name, that we can all unite and we can be on the same page, because God wanted me to make spiritual Marines, and here I finally am obeying what God has told me instead of pulling a Jonah. And I know it seems contradictory whenever you see a man of God proclaiming Jesus and doing the opposite, but I can reassure you right now, I'm not on drugs, and I've been sober, and I will continue to be sober, because I know this is do or die for me. And if you've ever walked in my shoes, you would have a heart for the things that I've been through. and you wouldn't think about throwing stones if it happened to you. But I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive me. In Jesus' name, we will overcome.